Hi, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Rhea.
We're in the Wildcat Hills at the Millennium Quarry. Do you think Bruce would give us a tour of the site?
Bruce loves telling people about his work. He finds that explaining the site to construction crews is the best way to keep them informed of the project and involve them in a more personal level. Bruce has to work very closely with the Department of Roads and the contractors.
You've got that right. He said that this project in the Wildcat Hills was one of the best. The contractors were fantastic about working with Bruce, helping out and even finding some of the fossils by helping with the dig.
Paleontologists really have to work hard.
They sure do. They must be very careful the entire time or fossils will be lost.
I see they're using shovels. Isn't that kind of dangerous?
They're extremely careful when using shovels. It's necessary because you can see the construction is continuing and Bruce wants to get out of the way as soon as possible. He tries his best not to hold up the progress while making sure that all the fossils are removed and preserved.
Highway salvage paleontologist. My job, and Shane is the preparator for the highway salvage program. So we go around, follow heavy equipment around, and check all the excavations on highway projects throughout the state, looking for fossils that might be disturbed by construction. And we salvage those. So that's why we're in here. We knew this was a fossil locality. We had found a few scraps over the years, so we wanted to be on hand when they opened this up, because it was a huge excavation, almost 1 million cubic yards of dirt they moved. Sure enough, when they got down to the bottom of this channel, they hit this wonderful bone bed.
Shane working at this site.
I wonder if they'll find any dinosaurs.
I don't think so. Let's listen to Bruce as he explains why we don't find any dinosaurs in Nebraska.
Probably the most important thing in Nebraska paleontology that we try to educate all the time. We don't find dinosaurs in Nebraska. We find big lizards, sea lizards like mosasaurs, because it was an inland sea. So you don't get terrestrial dinosaurs.
Fossils we find during the same time of the dinosaurs are large fish and marine lizards from an ocean. That's pretty neat.
Yes, it is. Let's go to Morrill Hall at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln and listen to Bruce as he explains further.
The reason we don't find dinosaurs in Nebraska is Nebraska is located in the middle of what's called the Western Interior Seaway, a shallow mid-continent seaway that stretched up into Canada from the Gulf of Mexico. We find 3 fragmentary fossils in eastern Nebraska in the Dakota sandstone, which was a big delta that came out from this side of the east side of the seaway. But otherwise, we find many marine lizards, the very large mosasaurs, and plesiosaurs. And fish in Nebraska.
They've even found sharks.
I could use a refresher on the map. Boy, did North America look different back then. It wasn't even in one piece. It looked like 2 different continents.
You're right. Watch closely as Bruce tells us again. Look for the light green outline of North America.
70 million years ago, Nebraska was still covered by an inland sea. The ancestral Rocky Mountains started to rise, and large deltas flowed, or rivers and deltas flowed east from the Rocky Mountains. Before you find tremendous numbers of dinosaurs on this landmass in Montana and northeast Wyoming.
Bruce talks about this being a river.
Yes, we're looking at an old riverbed. Isn't it cool? It looks like you just drained the water from it.
I never thought of it that way. You're right. I'm seeing sand, pebbles, gravel, and even some large rocks. It does look like a river that had just been drained.
Bruce asked Scott Klinger from the Department of Roads to come and collect data to create a 3D topography map of the ancient riverbed. The computerized map will show a 3D picture of the riverbed. Let's watch as Scott and Bruce choose points to map, set up the equipment, and collect the data.
You're going to have to reconstruct this. You can say whether that's just a gradual slope or whether it's a vertical. I go from verticals and where they drop. Out in here you might take this high. Somewhere beyond E3 here you've got another low. So this is a bit of a high, okay, and we've tied a lot of bones into that. Okay. And just beyond it, I think here's floor. You gotta take one down.
Next, Scott takes his equipment to the top of the hill next to the control point, calibrates it, and begins collecting data.
Just setting up an assumed point here. We're going to later establish it with some control points that are already existing. And Shane, one of Bruce's guys, is going to help us. That's basically it.
Is there a specific name for this type of mapping?
We do this a lot when we do preliminary surveys. I guess the software we use calls it radial topography, where we just use existing control points. The gun shoots a horizontal and vertical angle, measures the distance, and then it computes coordinates of the point we shot.
Okay. And then you can get a three-dimensional map of whatever you're...
Yeah, we use some post-processing software that takes all the points we shot and allows us to manipulate them and basically build a project for the normal work we do. It allows us to view them two-dimensionally or in free space. That'll work. That'll work. Nothing big paint.
Bruce, what kind of cross-bedding is this?
Epsilon cross-bedding. Just because of the low angle. And I think that just indicates a certain kind of bar. Sandbar in a river. That cross-bedding, a smaller scale looks like when you cut down from the top.
Huh.
So this is just stacked in, and what you're looking at is a different view of one of these troughs. a little ripple lamination on the bottom. No riverbed. Some of it's just beautiful.
It is. It's just wonderful.
So what are all the high places that look like mushrooms?
Oh, those are called pedestals. Some of them look like big mushrooms. On the top of each of them is a fossil. Bush and Shane leave the fossil at the place where it was found. They dig around the fossil and dig down to the floor of the old riverbed. This gives them the actual height from the riverbed at which the fossil was found.
I see. This helps them to see the different levels at which the fossils are buried. That looks really cool.
What are some of the fossils they are finding?
Let's take a look at a few and then Bruce will explain them.
And we are finding things, and as long as we are there, we're excited about it. So that's kind of neat. In age, okay.
Okay.
At around 20 million. The Miocene goes back to 24 million. What it is a ponded environment, to where you get a very low velocity stream, you know, or something where you might get a cut-off meander and it forms kind of an oxbow lake. Well, then you get some very slack water deposition, even finer grain than this very fine sand here. And it's kind of ponded. Well, when they started ripping, to put that pipe in over there, this complete snapping turtle fell out, just rolled down the hill, and I picked that up, and I thought, oh, well, you know, we're getting some complete things, so we'll wait around and see. And to it, because they have really strange bones, and this edge right here, this is very large and weird. It could also be, I'm just not sure. I'm not going to say anything more. We don't really know until you get it back and, you know, can
Is it
clean
like
it.
a rhino type or camel or?
No, it's related to camels and these things called oreodonts. They're artiodactyls. They're even-toed ungulates.
Okay.
So those are, anthracotheres, camels, peccaries, like the collared peccary we find in here. You know, one of these, not a pig, but a peccary, a wild boar.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Camels.
Okay.
Yeah, we said that. Okay.
Yeah.
Deer. All the deer are even-toed ungulates too. So then you go to the odd toes, and those are horses.
Right.
The horses at this time we find two different kinds. They're three-toed horses. Actually, the horse is a large three-toed horse is the best represented animal in here.
Okay.
Also, this calicothere, the thing up at Agate, the clawed thing that looks like a very large horse in ways, but it's just bizarre too. What else? Rhinos.
Well, I had found a single tooth and it looked like it was broke. Just trying to pick through it so we don't have to bring it all back to look back in the lab.
And that other one in here?
Yeah,
Well, that'd be great if it's all there.
we got all the pieces.
Yeah, don't bother. This is a weird cone.
The jaw part, and then it fit in here, if that's the right part. Yeah, it's a small, really small dog. Right.
Yeah,
It looks like it's smaller than a fox.
Okay. Let's, yeah, so that's good. Okay. What this is a very low-grade fossil wood, though. If you go up into the Valentine Formation over near Valentine, you get huge logs of very black wood. Beautifully preserved, some of it. This stuff is probably in a different stage of preservation where it's not completely turned to pure silica. It may be, but it's still very greasy feeling. You can rub it and it just smears up, and scratch it with your fingernails even. But it also makes the rock very dense and difficult to work around that stuff. But that's what we're thinking these are. Some of it actually shows some wood structure. And these are probably old rotten logs, you know, and you're looking just at a bark rim or something like that.
Stream bed or something.
Yeah, right. Because they're very long, some of them, like that one over there. Just love being taped.
Shane, Bruce talks about the fossils being very fragile. What is it that you use to harden the fossils?
It's acetone mixed with like a plastic, polyvinyl acetate, I guess, is what the plastic is, and it dissolves in it, and then we can just pour it on, and then when the acetone evaporates, the plastic will come out and harden up, and it will go into the pores of the building.
Let's listen as Bruce gives Ann James her first look at the site while he explains the geology of the area.
Hang on. So what you have is in Scottsbluff National Monument, you've got the White River Group at the bottom. Okay, and that's the Brule. What you'll hear of is the Brule around here. That's the top of the White River Group. Then above that, you have another unit in here called, it's informally named the Brown Siltstone. What it is a sandy or Brule. And so that's a package of sediment that they'll put in with the White River Group. So the White River Group you see in the Big Badlands in South Dakota at Toadstool Park. Okay, that's all White River Group stuff. Then when you get up into the ridge country like this, you start with the Gering at the bottom, and that forms these cliff-forming units. That whole thing, well, the bottom part of that is the Gering. And you can see the pumice running through it. Above that is the Monroe Creek Formation, so the Harrison Formation. And then there's a thing called the Upper Harrison. Now that's a bad name for a rock unit, but it's separate from the Harrison.
Okay.
That is the Arickaree Group. Most of the Upper Harrison and Harrison are volcaniclastic. They're wind-blown ash and sand, from the west.
That's almost too much geology for me. What does it all mean?
It's really pretty simple as long as you don't get lost in all the names. Basically, each formation or deposit of rocks and sediment have a name, and each formation was formed at a specific time. By recognizing the formation, you can determine the age of a particular area.
Isn't it true that the further down you dig, the older the formation?
Yes, that's true. Unless something catastrophic like a flood or earthquake happened to mix the layers up. The layers on top are the newest, and the deeper you go, the older the formation. Did you know Bruce lives in a tent?
Really?
Yes, he sets it up near the site while working in a quarry.
So, what are the tools that paleontologists use?
That's an interesting question. I always thought that their tools would be expensive scientific tools, but many of the tools that they use on site are simple tools that we have in our garages or basements.
Really?
Yeah, Bruce and Shane's toolbox consists of a paintbrush, trowel, knife, and shovel. Not real complicated.
What do they use the knife and trowel for?
The knife is used to dig around fossils as a smaller tool that can clear away dirt without disturbing or ruining the fossil. The trowel helps to clear away dirt quicker than the knife, but there is less chance of damage than when they use a shovel.
I remember Bruce telling me that they only use a shovel when they are certain that no fossils are located there. Once a fossil is located, they use the trowel to clear away most of the dirt, the knife to clear away the dirt right next to the fossil, and the brush to sweep the dirt off of the fossil.
Pretty clever, using these inexpensive tools.
What's this white stuff?
I saw Bruce mixing up some plaster. Let's find out what's going on.
Save this water if you can. Feels great, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, now you mix it up and get it real smooth. But leave, wipe it off your hands as you go when you're finished, yeah.
I like
this. Water into it as well. Okay, yeah, that's looking good. Should be consistency of thick cream, really. Okay, so try to get that stuff from the bottom and that water on top mixed in with water. Okay, so you see that's really an important step. The tissue paper, so it doesn't stick to the bone. Take that old brush, get it wet, dab it in all the little crevices, and the jacket will be tight. don't do that, if this thing dries out, which it will through time, we don't get it prepared. Because we have to turn it over, it'll all fall apart inside. Give me a little guy, yeah, just real simple. Okay, here's how you do it. I'll show you one, and you go ahead and do this. Get it all soaked. Open it up. See, there's a little there. Okay, that's real thick on there, though. So what you want to do is just kind of slide it through your hands, and then give it to Shane. He can open that up, or you can open it and hand it to him. Okay, here's another important thing, though. If you put any on the specimen, do not lift them off. You know, back off the specimen, because you'll pull that tissue paper off and you'll defeat that your purpose. Yeah. Yeah, one of those super long ones that are under that lid. Scrub all of it. Over there, yeah, good. Whoop. Okay, now start scrubbing. No, scrub it, yeah. A little more. Now scrub all over, especially up. There you go. Yeah, it's 70 south. 35 west. Of the N10 flag.
After the plaster dries, the cast will be marked with north-south orientation.
They also are marked with a number so that they can be located on the map.
We'll put north orientation on and we'll map these in, we'll sketch them in, and we'll set up a grid.
All the fossils that are found are written in the field book and located on the grid.
These are things we're going to now wrap in newspaper, taping and marking the upside as top, so as it dries out, nothing falls out. We could put a plaster jacket on the top of this to hold it together, but we're going to prepare this right away, so we don't need to do that step.
Plaster jackets are wrapped to keep them wet. They can get a little moldy after setting a while in the box. They are kept wet to keep the contents from spilling. They are wrapped in a double layer of newspaper, and the bottom of the cast is now marked top, so that if they do dry out, the contents will be held inside and not spill. One of the reasons for mapping the fossils is to study how the bones were deposited by the river. Notes about the beds, the bones themselves, how the bones are lying, dipping, or plunging are written down. These notes give indication as to current direction of the river. The bones are studied as a fauna and also as individual animals. Many jaws are represented and many are missing teeth, but with several jaws a whole set of teeth can be studied. After the jackets are wrapped, they are placed in boxes that are used to transport them back to the lab. When they have safely arrived at the lab, the boxes will be unpacked and the jackets unwrapped to expose the fossils for final preparation.
seen some large tables and round metal feeding pans with screen in them. What are those used for?
The large tables are used to screen piles of dirt from microfossils.
Micro what?
Microfossils. These are tiny animals like mice, voles, lizards, snakes, and frogs.
Cool. So do they ever find much?
Bruce says that depends on the site. Some have a lot of microfossils, and other sites have very little.
We just shovel up some sand and gravel. It might have potential for microvertebrate fossils. And just spread it out on there. Fairly thin. Yeah, go ahead. Just spread it out, and we'll let the sun dry it. And it'll run right through because there's not a lot of clay in this stuff. It dries really well. So I usually just spread it around evenly and then leave it for a while and come back when it's dried. You probably have to sweep the screen one time and then spread it out again. This is aluminum screen, so we have to be careful not to touch that with a shovel or a heavy bucket or anything else that we might put our sand up here with, or it just tears them apart. So then spread it out like I'm doing on your half. Now see, we've lost most of that sand. So now we'll wait for it to dry again. And you'll start to see things a little clearer up in there. But we haven't found much in this stuff. We only went through a little, but it seems to be ground up when you get into the coarse. This is what kind of coarse stuff, so we sometimes put it right there. And as you go down through this, you'll get real dusty again. This stuff, though, is what you bag. That's what comes out on this screen too. This is window screen like that. And this is the stuff that's very tedious to sort through. But one of those 30-pound bags takes you 16 to 20 hours to sort. You know, 20 hours each, and we got 40. So you can imagine. But this stuff you can look through. And as you do, if it's not bone, just toss it off. And then you'll come to the end eventually, okay? And you don't want to just kind of pick things out. You want to get rid of it as you rule out any bones. You know, we don't see anything in these, so you can toss them. What we do is we'll take this and we'll put it on a paper plate. I don't have any with me. Spread it out and not have any of it pile up on the plate. You know, you want to be able to see every grain. And you go over it and then you toss it, pulling out all the fossils. But you will find bone fragments. Yes, that's a clay ball, though. Yeah. That's one of those light beds in there, the greenish stuff that's just fallen in and tumbled around itself. Let's see. See, there just isn't a lot of bone in this. Our pan screens, we usually use these just to test an area. We'll go out and scoop a lot of sand into the upper one. That sizes it. That tail screen, 1/4 inch. So it takes all these things out. And you can look through those. You can see the bones if they're that large with the naked eye. Then it goes through this, and this is window screen. And we shake all the loose sand out of it, and we'll bag what's in there. And take that back to the lab.
Once again, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Rhea.
Thanks for joining us at the quarry in the Wildcat Hills. Hi, I'm Ryan. And Rhea can't get out of the car. We're in the Wildcat.
Yeah, turn around again so I can see. Yeah.
Got it in my hair.
Yes, you do.
Look for the light green outline of the North America.